kind of a part 2 on the stretching that we should be doing to counteract all the sitting, whether it be sewing or just at a table or all the typing that people are doing from home. So previously I discussed stretching the forearms. More specifically, each individual finger can be stretched, just keeping everything as limber as possible. And when you hold a stretch, like I said, 20 seconds to up to 3 minutes, but going through each individual finger and just kind of letting it slowly stretch back. So you can do that with each of the fingers. When it comes to counteracting anything you're doing that's drawn forward, that tightens up all the muscles in the front. So loosening them up is what's going to make it easier for the muscles in the back. They're not going to be pulling on that. So doorways are great for stretching this stuff out. Kind of, play around with where it is that you need this stretch and what feels best as far as doing this stretch. A real intense stretch is keeping your elbow at 90 degrees or higher, holding onto the doorway, and then just kind of spinning out of it. Make sure that your shoulder isn't being shrugged up into your ear. And if you picture the muscle that you're really stretching mostly here is your pec minor, and it attaches from this little nublet up here down into your sternum. So if you picture it kind of being like a piece of bubble gum, you want to pin it and then stretch it and just kind of go all the way down and kind of stretch that muscle out. Then on the back side of that, if you want to get those muscles in the back to stretch out real well, a good way is to grab onto the outside of the doorway and just kind of hang back. And you'll notice if you just kind of pull your hip away from your shoulder and kind of do on both sides, play around with different positions, how far away you need to be, what kind of twisting. That's going to get a group of muscles that kind of start at your tailbone and they kind of branch up looking like a tree going all the way up your back. And when those get out of place, it can actually pull your ribs out of place. So keeping those happy is going to be good for you. You also have a muscle called your QL that pulls your hips to your ribs and ribs to your hips. And so anytime that we're kind of slumped at the desk and favoring one side, that can get that real tight. And a great way to stretch that is grabbing onto the doorway and just kind of pulling away. And you're trying to get as much room in between your hips and your ribs as possible. When it comes to your arms, a lot of elbow pain is actually coming from your triceps. And when like I was reminded of this recently when using my rotary cutter, just that continual motion. So a great way to stretch that is getting into a doorway. And you want to try to get your tricep as flat up against the door as possible. And then just kind of walk through it. And once again, holding for 20 seconds to 3 minutes. A little bit of the mid-back that we didn't really address that much on the other video. I was more focusing on the lower back. Is just kind of dangling down, like kind of fingers to toes. And just letting your body dangle. Trying to focus on getting as much of those muscles in your lower back to just kind of give in, surrender. One of the things I also didn't think about until I was sitting at my machine for an insane amount of time is how much that pumping action on the sewing pedal, the sewing machine pedal can affect those muscles, not only on the back of your legs but on the front of them. So when it comes to those calf muscles, getting into a doorway and stretching this way, locking your knee out gets the muscles on top where the gastrocs. When it comes to the muscle underneath, just bending it a little bit, you kind of get more of an intense stretch. If you have the ability, if you have a stair inside your house, the best way to do it honestly is to just kind of step on top of it and let your ankle hang, or let your heel hang off. It's going to be a good way. And again, doing it with a bent knee, you end up having to get a deeper stretch because it's a different muscle group that's being stretched. Now on the front of your shin is a muscle, and that could be harder to stretch, but basically, if sometimes just kind of getting a good kind of roll will get enough of a stretch. If that's not enough for you, then kneeling down, trying to walk your feet away from your knees as much as possible is going to be a good way to kind of stretch that out. If that's not getting enough of a stretch for you, then taking a towel, rolling up, putting it underneath your foot so that your whole body weight is kind of pushing that ankle down on the ground, trying to take up, kind of flatten out as much as possible. So those are some stretches. If there's any other stretches, anything that you can't quite get right, the muscle just feels like it's not letting loose, go ahead and put it in the comments and I'll try to come up with something that'll help you stretch out. All right, thanks very much. Have a nice day.